right, I've done the unthinkable and I've read through all 168 pages of the Justin Baldoni website, thelawsuitinfo.com. This is Justin Baldoni providing all of the receipts, text messages, emails, and the timeline of the entire saga with him versus Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Now, I know some people think that this is like just celebrity gossip, and they're like, who cares about this? Why are you talking about it? And that's fine. On some level, it is just Hollywood gossip. If it's not for you, fine. I think it's a much bigger situation because A, there is a sexual harassment lawsuit filed against this guy that could absolutely be career and life ruining if it ended up being true or proven to be true in the court of law or in the court of public opinion. So I think that's a major deal. Also, I think that this is the definition of a vapid Hollywood couple who thinks that they are completely untouchable and can do whatever the fuck they want. They basically try to hijack the entire movie from this guy, steal the entire movie rights series, smear his name, ruin his life, ruin his career, and try to take all the money away.
Yeah, they're the worst.
I think that's fucked up. And I think we're talking about one of the biggest actors and businessmen in the world right now. We're talking about one of the biggest female celebrities, and they are just picking on this little guy and trying to ruin him. I think that's a big deal, and it's worthy of talking. I don't like Justin Baldoni. I think that his whole male feminist, female ally shtick is over the top, and he's very smarmy and smug, and I don't personally like him. But when you look at the facts in this, he is 100% right. Like, not even 1% wrong. It is. And of course, this is being presented on his side, but until Blake Lively and her team can put out 168 pages of text messages and emails refuting this, this seems to be a lot of facts that are very damning for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. So let's go through it. This is going to be the most comprehensive, but hopefully the fastest breakdown of this whole website. It begins with Colleen Hoover, who's the author of It Ends With Us, the book that got turned into a movie. She's emailing with Justin Baldoni being like, we want you to be the lead actor, the producer, the director. You are perfect for this role. In all these emails with Colleen Hoover, Justin Baldoni keeps saying that this movie is about domestic violence survivors and victims, and we need to make sure that they are taken care of, and that is the focal point of the movie. That's a big part of the story because this whole beef started when the promotion of the movie began, because Justin Baldoni kept doing interviews being like, this is a very serious topic about victims of domestic violence. And Blake Lively was like, get your girls and put on your flower dresses and go watch the movie. It's so much fun.
It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
And everyone was like, you're a bitch. And this guy is the only one who's looking out for the real people in this movie. So in those emails, he says, I want to work with No More, which is a nonprofit for domestic violence, and he wants to give 1% of the film's proceeds to this women's shelter, women's organization. So not only does it show that Colleen Hoover was on board with him, but it proves that Justin Baldoni was looking out for the domestic violence victims, which is a big part of the situation. The first thing where this whole thing goes to shit, I swear to God, if this one thing didn't happen, I think the whole saga goes differently. Justin Baldoni emails his trainer, texts his trainer, asking about Blake Lively's weight. There's a scene in the movie where the guy has to pick up Blake Lively, and he says he has back issues, and he was worried about it, and he needs to train for the role, and he needs to know how much she weighs. And that somehow gets back to Blake Lively, where I'm sure they asked her what her weight was, and that sets everything in motion. Talk about the butterfly effect. My God, if Marty McFly could hop in a DeLorean, go back in time and stop Justin Baldoni from saying that one fucking thing, I don't think any of this happens because it sets both of them off into a psychotic rage. Later in the website, you see that Ryan Reynolds brought Justin Baldoni to his house, and he was like, who the fuck are you? How dare you talk about my wife's weight like that? It was the shot heard around the world that blew this whole thing up. If he never brings up the weight, none of this happens. I think it's a little weird to be like, I need to know your weight to train for this role. It's not like you're fucking playing Commando, bro. It's not like, you're doing the Expendables where you got to be like jacked. You're picking up Blake Lively. I'm sure you can handle it. So I think it was a little weird that he brought it up, but Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' reaction was so wildly over the top, it was fucking insane. All he did was text his trainer to try to handle this professionally, which is also a part of this whole thing. Justin Baldoni sets up everything with the intimacy coordinator. Everything with doctors, everything with specialists that Blake Lively might possibly need. Every time Blake Lively's like a little bit sick, he's like, don't worry, I got a doctor for you. You're having issues breastfeeding, I got a specialist for you. He's texting these people about certain probiotics to get for Blake Lively and her kid. Like, he went above and beyond every time. And all of the exchanges with Blake Lively and Baldoni were like, you're so great, you're so amazing. Everything was this big circle jerk suck fest. Like, you're so amazing. No, you're so amazing. No, you're going to be great. No, you're going to be great. Ryan Reynolds was like, you're the man for the job and you're going to bring the best out of my wife. And Blake Lively's like, we're going to make magic together. And then he said the weight thing and then the intimacy coordinator. That was the second thing. Justin Baldoni 3 or 4 times is like, I got the intimacy coordinator. We need to meet and go over this. And every single time Blake Lively says no. He's like, do you want to meet before we shoot the scenes? She goes, nope, I'm good when we start. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Then when they're supposed to shoot, she cancels. Then they're supposed to have a meeting. She cancels. Like 3 or 4 times he tried to go through the sex scenes and the nudity. And every single time she says no, and then turns around in the website, in the lawsuit, and says, there was no intimacy coordinator. Everything you did wasn't in the script. Everything wasn't in character. None of these scenes are a part of the movie. Meanwhile, they provide on the website the exact script that shows the scene where he lifts her up, the scene where he kisses her, the scene where there's sex and nudity. All of it was listed there. He tried to go through it professionally. Every single time Blake Lively turned it down and then turned it around during her lawsuit and tried to throw it in his face. Then we get to the infamous rooftop scene, which is another major crux of this story, because not only is it where the rewrites begin, where Blake Lively clashes with producers and writers and directors on how the movie's going to go, but it also marks the beginning of Ryan Reynolds' inclusion. She says that Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift rewrote this rooftop scene, which she describes to be iconic. And honestly, the scene fucking sucks. When you go back and watch it, they meet on the roof. She says, what do you do for a living? He says he's a surgeon, and she like laughs maniacally. And she's like, oh, I thought you were a crypto bro. And he's like, no, I'm a surgeon. That's the whole fucking scene. And she wanted it to be this iconic meet cute where she drops this infamous line that is so goddamn embarrassing. If this was ever put out publicly, for me, I think I would run and hide in a hole and never come out again. She says, if you knew me in person longer, you'd have a sense of how flirty and yummy the ball busting would be. It's my love language, spicy and playfully bold, never with teeth. Ugh, oh, never with teeth. Shoot me in the face. That is so mortifying that she talked this way about this scene that ended up absolutely fucking sucking. And then as they go back and forth about this scene, she gets upset that Justin Baldoni is not like falling to his knees and sucking her dick for her, Ryan Reynolds, and Taylor Swift's rewrite of this whole thing. He was like, yeah, those are some good notes. I'll probably incorporate it with my stuff, and it'll be a mix of everything for the final scene. She does not like that. She was like, this is basically, you're not giving enough respect to like me and my husband and Taylor Swift rewriting it. And that's when she gives the infamous dragons text where she says, if you ever get a chance to watch Game of Thrones, you'll appreciate that I'm Khaleesi, and like her, I happen to have a few dragons, for better or worse, but usually for better, because my dragons also protect those I fight for. So really, we all benefit from those gorgeous monsters of mine. You will too, I can promise you. Ugh. Talking about your husband and your best friend as like your dragons that do your work for you. She says that they are her dance moms who are embarrassingly effusive. The whole thing is so crazy. You can like, I really hope that Taylor Swift's involvement, the way it's being characterized, is way blown out of proportion, based on basically Blake Lively clout chasing and like riding her coattails, because I can't imagine that during the Eras Tour, Taylor Swift had like all of this involvement in this random movie and this one scene. It feels like Blake Lively tries to make Taylor Swift like let it be known that she's her best friend at every turn. The fact that Taylor Swift is the godmother of all 4 of her kids is just fucking bizarre. Usually you pick one person for one kid, another person for another kid, both sides of the family. The fact that she did all 4 for someone who's just a Hollywood friend, to me, says that like she's just trying to be like, I'm best friends with Taylor Swift. And maybe I'm wishing that to be true because I don't want Taylor Swift to be involved in the way that it's being characterized, because that would mean that Taylor Swift fucking sucks and I don't want to hate Taylor Swift. But it makes me feel like Blake Lively is just hell-bent on being like, me and Taylor Swift we're so friendly, we're so cool, she worked on this movie, like she's my dragon, she sucks. Then we get to the breastfeeding situation. Blake Lively says, I'm breastfeeding in my trailer. Come on in. We'll just run through lines. And Baldoni's like, nah, it's a little weird. And she's like, just do it. It's fine. And while they're in there, she says to the producer, why don't you just turn around and face the wall while me and Justin run lines, and like it'll be fine. That all gets completely mischaracterized and thrown into the lawsuit, saying that Justin Baldoni was like forcing his way into her trailer while she was breastfeeding, and that the producer was making eye contact with her. There's a part of the story where the producer explains that he and his wife had an at-home birth, and he shows Blake Lively a picture of the baby. It's like him and the mother in like a, like one of those hot tub things, the baths that they give birth in, and the baby like sitting on her chest. And Blake Lively characterized that as pornographic material. She said that he made eye contact, that it was uncomfortable, showed me pornographic material, and the producer was like, "I'm sorry, I don't know that I don't think I did that, but if I did, like, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable." Baldoni was like, "You said we could come in." And the whole thing gets completely mischaracterized. She also throws out a complaint that he uses the term sexy, that like this outfit or this scene needs to be sexy, when clearly if you read through all the text messages, she says sexy and yummy and flirty and playful like 150,000 times. It's just the way they talk that all of a sudden gets completely taken out of context and turned into a sexual harassment lawsuit. We get to the Blake Lively wardrobe situation. She blows through the entire budget by like 5x. There was supposed to be like $100,000 in wardrobe. She was at like $500,000, and she was returning things and changing things. And it marks the beginning of her trying to take over basically this entire film. She's changing the wardrobe, particularly after a picture of her leaks on social media, and everybody hated the outfit that she was wearing. And that's when Justin Baldoni was like, "Hey, I think we need to talk about like the wardrobe." And she's like, "Nah, this is my shit." $500,000 budget. She starts doing the rewrites. She installs her own producer. She starts demanding producer credits. It was just a slow, basically assumption of the entire movie, where she like step by step pushed out Justin Baldoni and inserted her team, Ryan Reynolds, and everybody into it as producers and owners of the film. All the while, these text messages back and forth are other people on the film being like, Justin Baldoni's great. All of them, co-stars, other producers, writers, are like, Baldoni's the man. This is a great vibe. The set is awesome. Everything's all good. This was all before those people started working with Blake Lively and going on promotional tours with Blake Lively. After Blake starts working with them is when they all unfollow him on social media. They all start to say that they don't like him. They all demand that he can't be a part of anything, when initially everything was all good until Blake Lively came into the situation. There's another night where Ryan Reynolds completely berates Justin Baldoni out of nowhere, demanding that he apologizes for all these things that Blake Lively complained about. And he's like, "I'm not going to apologize for shit that never actually happened." Blake Lively files a grievance with Sony, listing the sexy problem, the intimacy coordinator problem, the different scenes and things that she doesn't like. All of these things are like out of nowhere. Baldoni's like, "We were like, everything was good. I don't know what the fuck is happening." But at every single step, Baldoni just capitulates to her, being like, "All right, fine, whatever she wants." But when Ryan Reynolds berated him, being like, "Apologize," he finally stands up for himself. He's like, "I'm not going to apologize for shit that didn't happen." And that just sets him off even further. Then things start to get real ugly at that point. Blake Lively she says she refuses to promote the movie unless things are done her way, meaning the rewrite, give me the producer credits, install my producer, fire this producer. Baldoni reluctantly agrees. He like feels so bad about firing this one woman, but he's like, "We have to, because Blake Lively doesn't like her. And if she doesn't like her, she's not going to do the promotion. If she doesn't promote, the movie's going to fail." At the heart of this whole thing, every turn, is Baldoni being like, "I just want this movie to come out. It's so good and so important that like whatever we need to do, let's all just bite the bullet and swallow our pride and make it happen." We get to the point where the movie is done filming and Baldoni is editing, and Blake Lively is trying her best to assume the role of editor, rewrite it, change it, make a final cut. This is when she officially asks for producer credit, and Justin Baldoni takes his version and tests it with audiences, and it gets a 92%. And Blake Lively, she's like, "I want to test it on my own. I'm going to do my own version." He's like, "This is not how it works. We have producer and final edit credits. Like, you don't get to do this." She says, "I will test my version, and if your movie tests higher, I will drop this whole thing." So he got a 92%. She puts hers out. It gets like an 82%. It's like far worse in terms of approval. And he's like, "Okay, good. So like, we're going to go with mine, right?" She's like, "Nope, wrong." She continues to push to rewrite it, to change it. She even at one point steals her cut of the movie, literally like steals the movie, and takes it to a panel where she airs it for like a small group of friends and family. And you can see video of her being like, "Yeah, I took this against the director and the movie house's like wishes, and I just stole it, and like we're just gonna do it this way."
Brandon hasn't seen it, so we're gonna sit through it.
But
And just know, it's literally, this is not a bit. It's literally not done. So like to be honest, like what really happened is we were like, we're gonna show the movie, and the studio was like, no, you're gonna show 20 minutes. So we're like, no, we're gonna show the movie. And they're like, it's not done. And I was like, they don't fucking care. The movie with me on the airplane. Like I have like a folder with like a disc, like a hard drive.
I love it. Openly admitting that she's trying to steal this movie from Justin Baldoni, and even despite the fact that his tests better, she still is like, no, this is going to be my movie. At this point, she basically completely erases Baldoni from the movie. He has no say in the music, the score, the final cut, any sort of production, any sort of editing. He has been completely pushed out. Blake Lively has assumed the entire thing, and throughout it all the producers had emailed along the way being like, this is crazy. She can't do this. Why is he letting her make all these decisions? It's going to set a bad precedent. She can't be a part of every single decision, and like on and on and on. They continue to appease her because she's just like such a bully and a monster, and eventually she just steals the whole goddamn movie. As a matter of fact, there's even another text message from Blake Lively at one point saying, "All is led by me, Ryan, and Redacted," which we all believe is Taylor Swift, "so that we make sure to weed out any lame ideas. It's me, Ryan, and Taylor. We work for free for the family. It's mafia style on this." Everything she says is just so goddamn cringy. Now, this is where things, I think, get completely and utterly ridiculous, and this is where Justin Baldoni is going to win $400 million fucking dollars, is because Ryan Reynolds refers to him as a, quote, deranged predator, and is running around Hollywood talking to other people and other like everybody in the industry, straight up saying, "I believe that Justin Baldoni is a sexual predator." That is fucking insane. Even if, let's say, he was an asshole talking about your wife's weight and he made her uncomfortable, there was some breastfeeding or like, to run around calling someone a sexual predator when at most there seems to be some creative differences and some professional like differences on the set. The characterizing this as some sort of harassment and assault is fucking insanity, especially someone who carries the weight and power that he does. Like, he says that around people in the industry. It's gospel. It's fucking over. So at this point, to me, is where it's like completely off the rails. As a matter of fact, at this point, Sony is like, what the fuck is going on here? Because Blake Lively's running around town doing these interviews being like, my husband rewrote the rooftop scene. And Sony's like, did he really? Because that's fucking against the rules. Like, we don't have him as a contract. We don't have him being compensated. There's union implications. There's credit implications. Like, why was he writing on this movie if he's not actually a part of the movie? So for everyone from Sony to Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, everyone's like, what the fuck is this bitch doing? So at this point, things are getting messy, and Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively decide they are going to write a statement for Justin Baldoni to release. So they write this August 12th, 2024, a statement prepared by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds on behalf of Baldoni, Jamie Heath, and Wayfarer. "It Ends With Us was a troubled production which we take full accountability for. We are very sorry to everyone we caused upset to privately and this is just also poorly written. To everyone we caused upset to privately and publicly. Blake Lively, Colleen Hoover, the entire cast and crew led with professionalism every step of the way. Any negativity aimed at them is ours to own. We mutually agreed that the cast would be promoting the film separately and understood why. We have always said that we're not perfect, and even if we unintentionally make mistakes, we will always own them. We hold ourselves accountable. It's not anybody's job but ours. It's part of being, quote, man enough," which is a weird thing to say. It's on and on the same thing. We're proud of the film. The film is doing on screen. It's talking about having uncomfortable conversations for growth, and the film does that on screen, and we're doing that off screen. Thank you to the cast and crew. With humanity and dedication, Justin Baldoni. What? What the fuck why would they write a statement for him to put out that has him assuming all the blame for a whole bunch of fucking problems that they caused? Like, the amount of times on this website that it states that this is an unprecedented overreach, whether it's from the movie studio, the PR companies, the statements being released, the producer credits, the way it was written, the way it was edited, the way it was scored, all of this shit is like, in no world does any movie operate this way. The overreach that these two had and the way they thought they were going to get away with is absolutely fucking insane. Then we get into the whole PR saga of it. There's 2 different PR firms involved, and they're slinging mud back and forth. There's a whole bunch of people monitoring everything that says on the internet. It kind of gets all muddy and murky. But at one point, Baldoni's PR girl, she says that a bunch of security guards and lawyers showed up at her place of work and basically stole her cell phone, just hijacked her cell phone and took out all of the texts and emails, which we all believe is where the New York Times got their hit piece and all the information for their hit piece. And that's the final piece of this website, is that on Christmas Eve, the New York Times put out a hit piece talking about how Justin Baldoni is this creep and how he's assaulting her and making her uncomfortable and unwanted advances and all this shit. And it starts with all the text messages and emails, which not only were doctored, where they took out some important context or they edited, out emojis and things that conveyed a whole different vibe to the conversation. However, people started searching for the metadata on this website. Metadata is basically like you can look at the coding behind a picture in layman's terms. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but you can look and see what date a picture was embedded on a website. And looking at the metadata, it said that the pictures were embedded in October when the lawsuit came out in December. Now, that's an important piece of the puzzle because the New York Times said that their hit piece was based off of information that they were able to get because it was all made public by the lawsuit following. But the lawsuit didn't get filed to December. So if they had all these pictures embedded and on their website back in October, it shows that they got the text ahead of time and basically were colluding with Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively to put out this hit piece ahead of time. So, which makes sense to me. They hire a PR firm. They're going to go find a major publication. They're going to sling mud and dirt and try to tear this guy down. But the New York Times trying to be like, we're just doing journalism and we're just looking at public information when it wasn't really public and it was made available to you privately months earlier. That kind of shows that they're in cahoots and they're looking to tear down Baldoni as well, probably because Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively paid him a fucking boatload of money. That's the long short of it. It's truly a career ruiner for Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Again, unless they come out with their own version where you can find text messages and emails refuting all this, where it like mentions all these things, but then you have the other side of it proving this to be untrue. I cannot imagine any way they win this lawsuit, they don't lose their lawsuit, and how they can ever like repair their image. Like, people were getting sick of Ryan Reynolds' shtick anyway. Blake Lively really doesn't have that good of a career to begin with. And now they're just going to be known as like the most horrific and delusional bullies maybe in the history of Hollywood. And that's why a lot of people speculate that like that Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively like had some sort of affair, or there was some sort of sexual tension, and that they got caught, and then Blake Lively needed to cover things up and went to Ryan Reynolds and said, oh no, it was actually that he was harassing me, and that's why Ryan Reynolds got involved. Like, all of that conspiracy theory shit almost makes more sense. As far-fetched as it seems, it's almost more logical than what is actually going on here, which is just two people who thought they were going to ruin this guy's life and bully him, while there's just tons of evidence to the contrary. And truly at the heart of this whole thing is not only just a power trip and an ego, but it's all about the IP of It Ends With Us, because there's multiple books by Colleen Hoover that Justin Baldoni owns the rights to, that he's going to go on to direct and film. And the contract says that he will lose the rights to the series if there was any sort of immoral behavior. So this was Blake Lively trying to be like, let's come up with a story. Let's tear this guy down. We get the rights to it. We get to do the trilogy. We make billions of dollars. We ruin this guy's job. We ruin this guy's life. And we're going to do it. And no one's going to stop us because I'm Blake Lively and he's Ryan Reynolds. It's Deadpool. We're going to do it. And this dude said, go fuck yourself. Hired the best lawyer. Got a hell of a PR team. Said the truth will set you free. Put out all of the evidence. And it is about as damning as it gets for anybody I've ever seen in like a celebrity Hollywood lawsuit situation. I mean, they are, unless they have some sort of counterpunch, I cannot imagine them ever coming back from this. That's how fucking shitty they look. Completely buried, like never see from you, never hear from you ever again.